Hey guys, Mike Bartholomew back for part two of the Wednesday 320 Super Knockout. Um, Ran up a decent stack in part one. We ended with this pretty wild four-way all-in pot where Jolly Mackey shoved two blinds, I flatted, Guy Fornish flatted, Vlado flatted, and then Apes Are Fun shoved, and we decided to call off because the ranges are so wide in this super knockout format, like I discussed. And then Vlado decided to call as well, and we shipped the whole pot. So we got three knockouts. So I think that was our first three knockouts of the tournament. And yeah, we also have a pretty healthy stack now. So we're going to keep going here. Hopefully, find some more pretty fun spots. Ace 7, just standard, probably 2.5, 3x open. And it gets through. A couple hands later, we find Ace 10. We get flatted out of the big blind, which is fine. Now, I decided to check back here. Don't really want to inflate this pot. This pretty much smashes his big blind range. I just prefer to pot control here. I might even do the same with something like King Jack. Um, yeah, so I just decide to check back and see what he does on the turn. Now I just think I go check call. Depending, like if he were to bet huge on the river or something, I probably fold. But I think he takes the lead here with a lot of like, um, Queen 10 and 8-10 and stuff like that. Maybe Queen 9, stuff like that. So that card helps us obviously, as now like Queen Jack and King Jack we are beating, or Jack 10, Jack 9, 9 10. So he checks, and I think I'm surprised they checked back there. I think we could go for a little bit of value, like 250 maybe. I'm actually really surprised I checked back here. I must have had a ton of tables or something, and just you know. But I think this is a pretty easy spot to be value betting. I think that we need to be value betting here, 250 or 300. I mean, you're not, you're pretty much never getting raised by like a bluff raise. If he check raises you with a straight here, then so be it. But he would have had to flop a straight, which is pretty tough to do. Um, so yeah, I just think we need to bet like 300 here. Try to get value from Queen Jack and King Jack and stuff like that. He probably bets his two pair again on the river at like even like 9-10, Jack 9, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I do think there's enough value from like King Jack, Queen Jack, stuff like that. So I think we should bet. And yeah, I mean, at that point, Queen Jack and King Jack are the same as Jack 6. So I imagine if we bet small, he probably would have called there. So that's definitely a missed value bet there. Not the end of the world, but it's just spots like that you get an extra 250 to 300 chips. Jack 9 offsuit, I probably just defend. Oh no, just folds around to me. It's not very exciting. And then I go totally card dead for, I don't even play a hand. It doesn't look for like 20 hands. And the next hand I play, I just peel out of the big blind. Um, I'd probably peel even if it's just him and I. We're really deep. I'm not going to get carried away. If I flop well, the implied odds are pretty good. So, yeah, I flick it in here and totally whiff, so I go away. It's not a big deal. It's definitely worth seeing a flop there though. Ace 7. Um, yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't mind going either way. Like, this is weird, this limp here. Um, if I enter this pot, I feel like I should raise, even just like 350, just to take the lead, figure out what's going on with this guy. Ace 7's not really like, if we just call, then these guys might call. It's not really a good hand to play four ways. So If I'm gonna enter this pot, I think I should just raise, or folding is fine too. So I totally whiff, and I'm actually interested to see if this one goes to showdown. Looks like ab to. Okay, so good to know that he's limping under the gun with Jack 10 suited, and then betting 2 streets for value on this board. Um, so those are the sorts of things that you keep an eye on, and then make a note, or just know that this guy's doing that, and you start to develop tendencies for people, and that's how you figure out how you're going to play against them later in the tournament. I think it's pretty standard open this deep uh, from the cutoff, I guess, or hijack. We flop top pair. I would imagine I go in for a bet, and I do. I think there's a lot of value here from hands that have peeled the big blind that are going to, you know, lots of draws, maybe a 3 or a 6 7 or a 6, or like pockets, stuff that pocket 3, stuff like that. So it's a different spot than the one where I said I wanted to check back the ace 10 on the jack 10-9 board. Um, in a sense that I'm kind of merging. I guess I'm never getting better to fold, but it's just, in my opinion, that board is more scary, and becomes tricky to play because of how many draws there were. This one, there's no flush draw, and we have the backdoor flush draw. So yeah. Anyways, I just go in for a bet, and he raises us, um, which is kind of interesting. Let me just reset this here. I want to see. I don't really even think we should call that raise. I mean, I do. I guess we do have a backdoor flush draw, but so I make it 349. He probably almost min raised. Yeah, so he min raises me. So I think I would have folded if he made it like like 1,000 or something. Um, I think for that sizing, I need to peel one. Um, I think I'm good a bunch if I don't know if a 5 comes or a king comes. Could get interesting if he continues to bet, especially if we make 2 pair or something. But I do have the backdoor flush draw for a min raise. I think I'm just peeling one more and seeing what happens. So now he checks. Interesting card. I think that he does raise a lot of his straight draws here. Um, if I don't think I like betting here, because we could still have we could have the best hand. Um, you know, although if he does have, like, say, sevens or something, and I bet hard here, it's really hard for him to proceed, because it's an interesting hand. You don't see hands played like this that often. So I check back, and it comes 10 of diamonds on the river. He bets, and I don't like this call at all. I wonder. I must have a note on this guy or something. I really don't like this call. Uh, like, I don't beat anything. Um, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I would assume he has. I have no idea. A 3. Yeah, so he flopped a straight. Yeah, I don't like anything about that. I think opening king 5 is fine. I think c betting it's fine. I think we should probably fold. I mean, I guess we don't have to fold the flop bet, but calling that river bet is. I almost. That's very out of the ordinary for me to call. make such a hero call there when I beat I literally beat just the biggest airball flop bluffs ever. Um, that's really out of the ordinary. It almost seems like a misclick to me. It might have been, but I'm not gonna blame a misclick. I might have just made a bad call. But yeah, that's certainly like all I'm beating is just complete airball. I guess 6-7 I beat, but like I don't think he raises 6-7 on that flop. He probably just calls. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Lost a few chips. I definitely don't like that hand. But that's part of the process, right? Always gotta find spots we don't like and improve them. So we tighten her back down for a while. That hand probably tilted us a bit, and if you play a bad hand, it's not a bad idea to just take some hands off and regroup. So this was about 15 hands later, I think, and I pick up pocket eights, and looks like a lot of guys called. I probably just check. It's I just don't like betting a hand that has some showdown value, and we're never like a ten's never folding, and two guys have position on me. I don't like if D Vash 9 bets here, I'd probably fold because I don't think he's betting worse than eights here, unless he has something like Ace Jack of clubs or Jack Queen of clubs maybe. If Abtica were to fire, if it checks to him and he fires, I'm probably calling because he could be taking a stab, lighter or with air or whatever. But I wouldn't be calling. I don't think D Vash. We're out of position, just becomes nearly impossible to play the hand. So yeah, I just fold. It's like even if for some reason we do have the best hand there, it it's just really hard. I can't imagine he's not firing again on the turn, and then we just have to fold unless we hit a miracle eight, which you should definitely not be calling to try to hit that eight there. Six is actually the very next hand. We go in for a raise, and again a few guys call. Decent flop this time. I don't mind betting this flop. One, it's three-way. Number two, only one guy has position on us. Number three, I think to stay balanced here, like I'm betting every one of my queens. I'm betting kings, aces, and then some of my air. And I still think I guess there's not a ton of value from worse. Like fives and fours might call. Um, this is a spot where if I get called here, um, I make a read on what I think they have, and if I don't think they have a queen, like it's safe to assume that neither of them have a two in this particular scenario. If one of them calls and I don't think they have a queen, then I'm probably barreling because then I'm putting them on like anything like fours through nines. So I'm gonna try to barrel them off. That's where I turn my hand into a bluff. So I do fire out a feeler bet here, and they both end up folding, which makes my life a lot less stressful and definitely lower variance so that I don't have to barrel off there. I go in again, very next hand, queen seven of spades. Try to build some momentum here and get called again by two guys. So not getting a ton of respect. I'm going to c bet this flop. Some guys say that they don't love to c bet here into two other guys. Um, but like I think it's kind of worth a shot. Like if I don't bet here, I just lose the pot. Almost always, always, always. If I check here, one of them bet and I can't call. So I think it's worth a stab when it comes this board because like they're going to perceive this as pretty strong because I'm betting into they perceive it as, oh, he's betting into two guys here. He's obviously got an ace. Um, and if there's a lot of cards that I could potentially barrel too. Um, if they do call, I think they're calling with a king and like some of the weaker ace, like ace jack maybe. Like I don't think they have a lot of ace queen, ace king. I think those would have three bet me pre-flop. So when they call, I think they've got like king queen, stuff like that. Maybe like some clubs, maybe jack. I don't know. Some fish might call with a jack queen or something like that. Um, so there's a lot of cards that, as semi bluffs on the turn, like if a spade comes and we can bet as a semi bluff. And I just think it's not the worst spot to just barrel because I wouldn't put these guys on too nutted of a range here. So, anyways, I do bet, and he does call. And so like I said, this is just a spot where now, um, I'm just barreling. I'm gonna get this guy off his hand. Um, when he does call, the one of the hands that we have to be concerned about is pocket fours, but this is a really good turn because you know a set is not that unlikely, but quads is very unlikely. So if I end up triple barrel bluffing and losing to the very unlikely scenario where the guy turns quads, then I'm okay with it. But the number of times that it's going to work is pretty high. And you'll notice um, my plan was obviously to triple barrel this board because if you notice my sizing here, I usually would go like 40% a pot here with a lot of my value or even big hands. Um, I'm trying to get the stacked pot ratio. I'm trying to make it so that I can put him all in for not an over pot shot on the river. So I'm trying to make it so that it's like a 70% pot shot on the river to put them all in, or 60% or something. So if I was not trying to get them all in, or if my plan was not to barrel here, um, I might have made it smaller. Although sometimes I do go for one if I'm double barreling. Sometimes I'll just go for one extra big shell on the turn, and make him call. But in this particular scenario, I'm probably going for it. I think I've probably put this guy on a king. I think he would have three bet. Like, I doubt he's entering this pot with like ace eight or ace nine, just flatting as the third guy in the pot. I think he would have raised ace jack or ace queen or ace king or kings or aces, and fours are very unlikely. And therefore, I put him at clubs or king queen or king jack. So not only am I going to charge him really hard for clubs, and if the club hits the river, if he calls and the club hits the river, I might actually give up. But if it comes like the three of hearts on the river, I am probably all in. So it's just a spot. It's just a feel spot where I just can rule out, like, I think I can rule out some of the aces, and therefore I put them at kings or clubs, like king X or clubs. And I mean, he could have pocket fours, but unlikely. Anyways, I fire a big shell. He ends up folding. He most likely has king jack or king queen or clubs, and the big shell also doesn't give him the price to call the flush draw, which is another. If I'm huge there, like if I have kings full, I'm obviously betting smaller to try to price him into the flush draw. But yeah, I just decided to bet strong. I mean, I would bet that same sizing with ace queen there, ace jack, stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not like I'm only doing that with bluffs. I'm balancing it with some of my value as well. Anyways, the very next hand, we decide to keep the momentum, and as you guys probably know, if you've watched some of my videos, I tend to open more pots than the next guy. So, uh, I mix it up, and this is a spot where it's pretty light. These guys are not playing a very, they're playing 30 blinds or whatever. And if this guy hadn't called, I'm definitely not calling. Um, but this is part of where the 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 aspect of the bounty comes into play. I'm probably also not calling this in a regular tournament, but as you'll notice, they both are playing about the same stack, and I have them both covered. So it could be a good opportunity to get one or two bounties here um, if I were to flop well. So I do think it is in this scenario worth the extra 580 chips. Um, it's 580 into 2,800. Um, yeah, 2,900 actually. So I do think it's worth the call here, especially with the bounties. When if it's just a regular tournament with no bounties, it's definitely more marginal. It's still probably okay with the other guy in. If there's just the one guy, I'm probably just folding in a regular tournament, and I might call in this because of the bounty. But yeah, so anyways, I decided to see a flop, and obviously couldn't be a much worse flop for us. I decided to just give up. Like, I guess I could bluff. I mean, there's a chance I might have bluffed if that wasn't the turn card. Like, if the turn was, let's say, a 4, I might have fired a shell, like, 1,600 or something. But if one of them doesn't have a jack and checked it for deception, I mean, this card is smashing their range as well. So, and they're not folding. So I'm just done with it. And then moving on, we have King Jack suited, like 10 hands later or so. Interesting spot. So I open, guy flats, guy 3 bets. It's another spot similar to that one where if I think this Abtica, who I think is a bit fishy, is calling, I'm probably calling for potentially. Well, I guess see. This is another consideration. This call is not near. This call is not as good as the 5-7 because I don't have either of them covered, and therefore I can't win their bounty. So this is a more marginal call, even though my hand is better. But I do decide to flick it in, hoping that that other guy called as well, and I totally whiff again. So I'm just done with the hand. And then King Queen. This guy's got an absolutely huge stack. Uh, you know, folding is perfectly fine, and it probably is the best play. I probably decide to either 3-bet or flick it in. So I call, get another caller, flop 2 pair on a kind of dangerous board. I should bet. Yeah, I do bet. And no Moda flats. And it's a really bad river. Check, check. And he turned a set. So pretty unlucky run out, but kind of marginal call to begin. We can just fold pre-flop there. But the very next hand, we wake up with the big pair. So we're gonna go in for a 3-bet, small 3-bet. I think Jagalo is pretty aggressive. So I'm making a small 3-bet to make it kind of look bluffy, and he just rips it in. Like, obviously snap call. Pretty cold spot for him. We certainly like it though. We take down a nice pot, so we're up to 14K. And then 2 hands later, we find pocket tens. And we just go in for a raise. Yeah, this is like ridiculous action here. So I'm against this raise. I'm probably 4-betting. Actually, you know what? What are the blinds at? 250. Yeah, no, I'm 55 blinds deep or something. I'm probably just flatting that 3-bet. But with all this action, like, I probably would, if this guy Data Week didn't get in, I'm probably all in here. And I think I talked to a couple guys after about this hand, um, and I think mathematically tens is actually a go here. And I remember tanking and considering this spot because if you think about it, I'm opening off a big stack. They know that I open wide. This guy's got heaps of checks and he's been playing pretty aggressive. Both You Betcha and Data Week are really, really good players. And You Betcha, this is a really good cold 4-bet spot because he does have fold equity, not as much in a super knockout because of his bounty, but he does have fold equity and he knows that our ranges can be really wide. So he can be shoving like ace X here, king queen, etc. Data Weak is he's gonna he knows all of what I just discussed, and so he's gonna be calling off here with probably eights plus, um, and then I would say maybe ace jack suited, but definitely I think he's going ace queen plus here. And I know it might seem like a bit of a stretch with the ranges, but you have to remember a lot of these guys are using HUDs. I'm not sure this guy's numbers, but I don't know who this guy is. He's an unknown, but he has huge checks, which typically means they're playing wider and more aggressive. And he had been playing aggressive. These guys would know if they are using a HUD. My HUD numbers, my opening numbers, especially from this position, are pretty wide, and especially off my stack. So they think I could pretty much have a very wide range of hands here. This guy, three betting super wide, you betcha. I mean, the more I look at this, the more I think I should have probably gone all in here. I think it's possible that Data Weak has ace. I want to say ace jack, but probably ace queen plus, maybe ace jack plus. You betcha is got like probably ace eight suited plus and king queen, maybe queen jack, all of his pairs. Um, So I just think I'm actually playing really well against this range, and it's definitely closer when it's not a knockout. But considering I have both of them covered, and this is for two bounties, like this is a call. I can't really be too worried about Nokomoto's range. If he has jacks through aces, then good game unless I hit a 10. But I do think this is a missed spot here. I should have gone all in here. I did fold, and it would have been an absolutely phenomenal spot for me. As wow, yeah, that's and not to mention Nokomoto might have folded an ace also. So it's pretty unfortunate, and as you can see there, it's pretty frustrating the flop. So I think I should have called there. Especially with the bounty. I just think it's a spot where I need to be getting it in. The ranges are actually just wider than you'd originally think, because yeah, there was a cold 5 bet, but it was a pretty unique scenario in that me being a pretty aggressive reg opens, a guy with huge checks 3 bets, a really good reg then sees that opportunity, he 4 bet shoves, and a really good reg who knows all of what I've just said 5 bets. Anyways, back now we're moving on. Have ace king, a guy under the gun +1 opens. I'm 3 betting ace king, obviously to get it in, and also we're expecting Data Weak to get in. So I'm kind of trying to. I actually don't even mind making this bigger. Like in this particular spot, I don't mind making this like 1600, because we're pretty sure Data Weak he's all in the big, or he has 250 chips all in. Sorry, he has 250 chips in the big blind, and he only has 230 behind or whatever. 281 or no 331. Anyways, um, I think I should have made my bet a bit bigger to try to get this guy to fold and just go with that a week. He ends up calling, and I'm probably, because of the bounty value, this is also like a kind of slightly different spot in the sense that even if there was no side pot, usually you wouldn't bet a guy off of a dry side pot with just ace high. But when there's the value of the bounty, it's worth it. So and I mean there is a side pot here, so I'm gonna probably barrel here. He calls. I'd probably bet again here. I do, and I'd probably go right for the whole thing here. Oh wow, I just gave up, but pretty ideal. I win a huge side pot with against a worse hand. It's pretty rare. I thought I would have shoved there, but I guess I just assumed this guy was never folding a jack, so gave up. But I just assumed the way I won the pot was triple barreling, considering I had ace high. As I could see that I won the hand on the right hand side here. You guys can't see it, but on the just outside the recording screen here, I have a list of all the hands, and it shows that I won. So I assume I just triple barreled there. Anyway, so we open up. We have a big stack now. I mean, this is really thin. But again, this is where if you just look at it from a tournament perspective, I would never like this would be horrible in a normal tournament, and I would never call here. But again, if I flop well, he's gonna be all in, and I'm pretty much getting all in if I flop a pair here. And this is just because of the bounty value. Well, I flop a flush draw, so I'm just basically putting him all in by betting 2K. He knows I'm never folding, so and he goes all in, and he has a monster. But all you need is another spade to make a flush, and there's our fourth bounty. So that's exactly why I called. Like, I obviously know his range is super nutted, but if we flop a straight draw or a flush draw or one pair or two pair or a straight, like, it's worth $154. So, and it doesn't totally, like, it doesn't hurt us too bad if we do flop a flush draw and then miss. So I could afford it. I could afford the chip, so I decided to take the gamble. Again, this guy's opening off of, a bit shorter of a stack. I peel out of the big blind. Obviously not folding second pair here. He checks back the ace. That's a lot of the time, like ace 10. Um, even ace king on this board would check back here a bunch. But like ace 9, ace 8, ace 10, all that stuff probably should check back here. And so that, you know, that's a great card for me to check on, as it just looks like I missed. And I feel like he's going to bluff that card a ton. Obviously, he's betting it when he has the 10. I don't think he's ever betting like ace king or something, but I think he's going to take a stab and bluff out it a bunch. So I decided to go, and he did have exactly ace 10. So exactly what we thought, he's checking back that turn with. Very next hand, ace 3 offsuit. So I'd probably go in for a 3-bet. Yeah. And Franzusa, playing pretty honest, just decides to muck. So we're just going to play 2 more hands here, and that will be the last part for part 2, the last couple hands of part 2. So we decided to peel out of the big blind, 6-8, it's getting a little wide, but it's not horrible, I guess, this deep. And then this last hand I play here, I would imagine I 3-bet, as I can see that I win the hand, and I have a pretty bad hand, so. Okay, so Franzusa goes in. We know he's playing pretty honest. I wanted to kind of test out his resistance to me, to see how much he was going to let me get away with. And I have a pretty good hand to test it out with, as I have an ace blocker and late position open. So anyways, I decided to go in for a 3-bet again, full 3x, and he folds again. So good to note for as long as he's at our table. And that's where we're going to just wrap up part 2. So hope to see you guys back for part 3. And yeah, we'll see you then.